Today isn't your day, is it?
In 1990, Polish writer Andrzej Sapkowski published the first of many short stories about a witcher known as Geralt of Rivia, the White Wolf. Over the years, his adventures would span across multiple books and video game adaptations known as The Witcher.
Wolves asleep amidst the trees, bats all a-swaying in the...
Eventually, this epic tale would be adapted into a hit Netflix show that would be loved and hated by fans. And now, it's mostly just hated. And we'll uncover why as we discover how Geralt went from hunting Monster of the Week creatures in a swamp to hunting space-traveling skeleton horsemen in a different dimension? Also, if you're wondering, who's this blonde girl and the black-haired girl over there, and why are they important, then you've come to the right place. But first, we need to go over a couple of things. For instance, what in the world is a witcher? I'm glad you asked. Witchers are a group of men created by some mages 300-ish years ago, tasked with protecting humans from monsters and other demonic creatures that terrorized the land. The process to become a witcher, known as the Trial of the Grasses, involves a lot of physical endurance and taking potions that violently mutated their bodies. Almost every witcher was kidnapped when they were young, and only 3 out of 10 boys survived the trial. The mutations gave the boys increased strength, cat-like reflexes, and a longer lifespan, as well as supernatural abilities. Basically, the Witchers are just Halo Spartans but with magic and no Cortana. At first, there were many Witchers, and they were respected and loved by humans for keeping them safe. But as the monsters started disappearing and humans began establishing themselves as the dominant race, they began to despise and fear the Witchers, as there was little use for them anymore. Nowadays, they get by with whatever job they can get to keep villagers safe from monsters in exchange for coin. At least the few Witchers that are left in this world. The Witcher takes place in the fictional continent known as the Continent. Really clever name there. To the north, you have the northern kingdoms, such as Cadwen, Temeria, Redania, Aedirn, and Sintra. There are others, but those are the most important ones. To the south, you have the ridiculed Nilfgaardian Empire, who recently rose to power after centuries of being despised by the north. As Queen Calanthe put it, the of the south. Emperor Emir, also known as the White Flame, led the Nilfgaardians into battle after someone only known as the Usurper overthrew and murdered Emperor Fergus var Emrys to seize the throne. This is the basic external plot of the show, and we see more of this in the lore in detail as the show goes on. So let us strike up our loot and toss a coin to our Witcher as we dive into the epic and dark tale that is The Witcher. The show begins in the year 1231, with Geralt arriving in the town of Blaviken with his trusty horse Roach. He visits a local pub to ask for directions to Irion's home, the sorcerer that lives in the area, but all he gets is hostility from the local townspeople. They try to pick a fight with him, but that's when a female bandit named Renfrey gets them to back down.
I am speaking to you now, good sir.
Geralt is fascinated as to why she would be kind to a Witcher, but she's as cold and brooding as he is and gets no straight answer. Geralt finally gets directed to Irion's home, but finds a different sorcerer named Stregobor living there instead. What's more, Stregobor has transformed the wizard's tower into a pleasurable illusion. Geralt is annoyed by all of this, but Stregobor calls their meeting destiny, as he wants to hire Geralt to kill someone for him. He reveals his target to be Renfrey, explaining that he believes she's evil and cursed for being born on the eclipse.
Lilith's path was to be prepared by 60 women wearing gold crowns who'd fill the river valleys.
Stregobor adds that he killed everyone else born on this eclipse except Renfrey, and he needs Geralt to finish what he started. Why not do it himself though? Because she is impossible to kill. Geralt refuses as he thinks Stregobor is overreacting in his notions regarding Evilborn during an eclipse. Geralt runs into Renfrey in the woods later. She knows Stregobor asked him to kill her, so she asks him to kill Stregobor instead. But Geralt gives her an ultimatum: leave or die. Renfri promises to leave, but then goes back on her word and tries to kill Stregobor herself. Geralt goes after her and easily cuts through her men. He then fights a highly skilled Renfri and is forced to kill her. With her dying words, she tells Geralt that the girl in the woods is his eternal destiny. Remember that, this is going to be important. Stregobor finds Geralt and the carnage he left behind, as well as Renfri's dead body. He wants to take her body back for an autopsy, but Geralt forbids him from doing so as he cares about her. Upset by this, Stregobor manipulates the townspeople against Geralt, forever dubbing Geralt the Butcher of Blaviken. The show then jumps ahead to the year 1263, where we meet a young princess from Cintra named Cirilla, also known as Ciri. Ciri doesn't take her duties as a princess seriously, and she naively yearns for freedom and adventure instead of a boring royal life. Her mother, Pavetta, is dead, while her father's whereabouts are unknown. Later on in the episode, Cintra comes under attack from Nilfgaard. The Queen of Cintra, Calanthe, yes, the same Calanthe that arrogantly called Nilfgaard the of the South, was mortally wounded after realizing their armies were too powerful earlier that day. Irony? Knowing they have little time, Calanthe instructs the court druid Mouserak to help Ciri escape and find Geralt, adding that Geralt is her destiny. That will make sense soon. Anyway, as they make their way through the vicious slaughter and carnage, Ciri gets separated from Mouserak. She's captured by a Nilfgaardian soldier named Cahir, who we find out later was ordered to locate Ciri by Emhyr himself. They ride away from the burning city, and overcome by her emotions, Ciri screams, unknowingly unleashing some sort of hidden power within her that causes the horse to stumble. Cahir tries to recapture Ciri, but she keeps screaming, causing a nearby ruined monolith to topple and create a massive rift in the ground between her and Cahir. She runs away, and we're left wondering, what in the hell just happened? By the way, the show's first season is non-linear, so there's going to be 3 different storylines happening at once, and I'll do my best to keep everything clear. And we begin the next episode with the 3rd storyline, which takes place before Geralt's in the year 1206. Here we meet the hunchback stable girl Yennefer of Vendeburg from Aedirn, who is deformed on account of her mixed elven heritage. One day, 2 kids were making fun of her, which caused her to unlock her powerful hidden sorceress abilities and open a portal. Why are there so many young girls in this show that have hidden powers? It's later revealed that her elven heritage is what gave her these powers, and this unlocking of her powers is known as a conduit moment, something that happens to every girl like her. On the other side of the portal, Yennefer meets Istred, another sorcerer. Istrid helps Yennefer get back home and warns her that a powerful sorceress named Tissaia de Varys has sensed Yennefer's abilities and is coming for her. Despite Istrid's best efforts to hide her, Tissaia finds her and straight up buys Yennefer from her father. He's not winning any Father of the Year competition anytime soon. Tissaia then takes Yennefer to Aretuza, a school for sorceresses where they are trained to one day be advisors to kings. But Yennefer is upset by how carelessly she was cast away and tries to delete herself. But Tissaia saves Yennefer and says that she can unlock her true potential here at Aretuza. Yennefer then trains to be a sorceress, but she keeps struggling to be on the same level as the other girls on account of her condition. But she keeps at it and eventually becomes more powerful than everybody else. She also strikes up a friendship with Istrid and they grow close, romantically. Sadly, it's revealed that Istrid is working as a spy for Stregobor, who reveals Yennefer's elven heritage to him. This is significant because in this world, elves are considered second-class citizens. I'll explain how this came to be the more we go along. We then cut to Geralt, and he's still upset about what happened with Renfri. He's also trying to shoo away Jaskier, the flamboyant, witty bard that won't leave him alone. Unlike everyone else, Jaskier isn't afraid of Geralt and the fact that he's a Witcher, and refuses to leave Geralt's side no matter how many times Geralt tells him to piss off. And that's putting it nicely. In the end, Geralt ends up letting him tag along as Jaskier wants to spread the word and sing about Geralt's heroic deeds. Eventually, the pair gets captured by a Sylvan named Torque, who turns out to be allied with several elves led by Filavandrel, that are starved and were banished from their lands by humans in an event known as the Great Cleansing. You see, back then, elves used to be the dominant race on the continent, but when the humans arrived and rapidly conquered the land, elves, along with all other magical races, became second-class citizens that were enslaved by the humans. Sounds like something humans would do. Filavandrel is an elf that came from a proud family of elves and wants nothing more than revenge for what happened to his people. Geralt tells the elves to not become like humans, but to prove they can be more.
Show the humans that you are more than what they fear you to be.
Torque vouches for Geralt, saying he could have killed him when he had the chance, and Filavandrel lets them go. Meanwhile, Ciri keeps running from Nilfgaardian soldiers, where she befriends an elf boy named Dada, and he helps take care of her and keep her safe. She's finally getting that taste of adventure she always wanted. 12 years later, Geralt hears about another Witcher named Remus investigating a monster in Temeria, and heads out to find out what happened. Turns out, Remus died trying to kill it, and the local workers are upset that Geralt is here after one Witcher already tried and failed, and most likely walked away with their coin. Geralt almost wins them over when the courtier Ostrit arrives with several soldiers and disperses the angry mob. He then has Geralt escorted out of Temeria, and on the way, the soldiers fall unconscious through some sort of magic. Geralt is then approached by King Foltest's sorceress advisor Triss Merigold, who earnestly wants to speak to him. They both know each other, and Triss tells Geralt she wants to save the monster, not kill it. She explains that the monster is cursed and could possibly be King Foltest's daughter, Princess Ada's cursed unborn child, as the monster is emanating from her tomb. Geralt examines Remus's dead body and determines the monster is a Striga, so Triss's theory may be correct. Upon investigating, they discover how the child was born and that Foltest tried to cover it up because it was his. They bring this to Ostrit, who confirms their theory, but Geralt isn't buying it. He suspects that the true culprit is Ostrit, because he smelt Ostrit's scent on Ada's sheets. Ostrit is forced to confess, but justifies his actions in cursing the child, as it was the only way to protect Ada. He refuses to lift the curse, hoping this will get revenge on Foltest since he's not a strong king, so Geralt punches him. He then uses Ostrit as bait to lure the Striga out, drinking a potion before the fight begins. Sometimes, Witchers encounter a danger that is too big to handle, so they will consume a highly toxic potion that can enhance anything from healing to reflexes, hence their black eyes. As Geralt waits, the Striga comes out of its hiding place and kills Ostrit. Geralt fights it and barely manages to defeat it by preventing it from getting back into its grave when the sun rises, which releases the curse. And just like that, Temeria is saved once again thanks to Geralt. Now, time for a time skip. 4 years have passed since Yennefer joined Aretuza, and she and Istrid have really taken their relationship to the next level. Yennefer is also awesome at sorcery, and is allowed the chance to graduate. But when she is picking out a dress, she still can't get past her deformity. Tissaia tries to comfort her, but it isn't enough. It gets worse for Yennefer. Strigobor's schemes pay off, and he manages to get Yennefer assigned to a kingdom in Nilfgaard, and not Aedirn like she was promised. He works with Artorius Vigo to secure his niece Fringilla to take Yennefer's place in Aedirn instead. Tissaia tries to fight for Yennefer, but the matter is decided when Stregobor reveals Yennefer's elven blood, and this would make things complicated with Aedirn's trading partners like Cintra. Yennefer is upset about this when she finds out and tries to change their minds, but her efforts cause her to miss her initiation, and her one chance to transform her body into something more appealing. She eventually figures out that it was Istredd who betrayed her, and she casts him away. Enraged, Yennefer forces the enchanter Giltine to transform her body, but at the cost of her not being able to have children. The procedure is incredibly painful, but she becomes stunningly beautiful in the end. She charms the King of Aedirn and becomes his mage instead of Fringilla. Ironically, this move ends up having two negative outcomes. 1. This makes Fringilla help Nilfgaard in their attack against Cintra as she works closely with Cahir and Emir. And 2, Yennefer's time in Aedirn ends up becoming disappointing, and she begins to regret giving up her chance to bear children just for beauty that never ages. Meanwhile, Ciri enters a dark forest known as Brokilon Forest as if she's in some sort of trance. Dara chases after her, but then an arrow comes out of nowhere and wounds him. Ciri continues deeper into the forest, and she finds herself surrounded by several hostile dryads. She speaks with their leader Ethne, who takes her deeper into the forest, and talks about a cataclysmic event known as the Conjunction of the Spheres. This is important to know, so I'm going to explain what this is real quick. You see, 1500 years ago, a cataclysm affected the multiverse, trapping several races from different dimensions into this world, including every monster and creature. It was then that magic was discovered, allowing the first human wizards to be born, which helped make humans the dominant race. That is how they overthrew the elves. This moment is the reason for everything you see in the universe being the way that it is. Ciri is then taken to Dara, whose wound is being attended to by the other dryads. Ciri and Dara decide to remain in the forest under the protection of the dryads. When they are alone, Ciri reveals to Dara that she is a princess and Calanthe's granddaughter. Dara suddenly becomes defensive towards her. Why? Because Calanthe and her men brutally slaughtered his family. Ciri can't believe this, but comes to realize that he is speaking the truth. Despite resenting her, he encourages her to look for Geralt and find her own destiny. 6 years after the events of the 3rd episode, Geralt continues to slay dangerous monsters, and thanks to Jaskier, he has gained a fandom. So much so that he and Jaskier attend the betrothal feast of Princess Pavetta. Upon arriving, Mauserak recognizes Geralt and fills him in on the political situation. It turns out there are multiple noble scions attempting to win the hand of Pavetta, including a Nilfgaardian who is ridiculed by Calanthe. Mauserak also reveals that this is all a charade, as Pavetta has already agreed to wed Iced Terciac of Skelleg's nephew, Krakine Crate. It's very clear that Pavetta doesn't want to marry any of these noblemen. During the festivities, Urchion of Erlenwald barges in and demands Pavetta's hand through the Law of Surprise. Urchion claims to be a knight and keeps his face covered, but when Iced takes off his helmet, it's revealed his body has been cursed to resemble that of a hedgehog. So, real quick, I need to explain the Law of Surprise before I go on. The Law of Surprise is an ancient custom where a lifesaver can claim a reward that the person they saved is unaware of at that moment. Basically, they owe the savior what they have but do not yet know. This could be anything from the first thing that greets you when you get home, or what you find at home that you do not expect. So anyone's savior could easily walk away with their unknown child, pet, or other unexpected assets if they invoke the Law of Surprise. This custom ties into the idea of destiny, as no one can stand in the way of destiny, not even the most powerful kings. Anyways, Calanthe orders her guards and Geralt to kill Urchion, but Geralt refuses to, and instead saves his life when the guards are about to kill him. Looks like someone owes someone something. Iced also comes to his aid, and the trio find themselves fighting countless guards and dinner guests. This goes on for a while until Calanthe breaks up the fighting when she joins it. Pavetta rushes to Urchion's side and embraces him, revealing that they are both in love with each other. It also turns out Pavetta is Urchion's payment per the law of surprise, after saving Pavetta's father, King Rognar's life. After much debate regarding destiny and honor, Calanthe finally allows Pavetta to marry Urchion. But then, surprise! Calanthe unsheathes a hidden dagger to stab Urchion, prompting Pavetta to save him by revealing she has hidden powers and creates a maelstrom, protecting her and Urchion. It turns out Pavetta inherited the dormant elder blood, a genetic trait from her elven ancestors that allows for immense magical abilities. Geralt and Mauserak stop it, and Calanthe is forced to finally accept Pavetta's choice for a husband. Pavetta and Urchion are wed, and it miraculously breaks his curse, restoring his human form. Urchion is overwhelmed and offers Geralt a chance to repay him. Despite trying to refuse, Geralt casually requests the Law of Surprise. Suddenly, Pavetta shows up, revealing she is pregnant. Urchion did not know this, which now means the child belongs to Geralt. Can you guess who she's pregnant with? As Geralt leaves, Mauserak tells Geralt that the bond between him and the baby will be extraordinary, and if he doesn't take advantage of it, then the world will descend into chaos. Geralt doesn't believe so, and he leaves, but he can't help think that Mauserak is right. The next episode begins with Cahir still looking for Ciri along with Fringilla, and reveal they have a captured Mauserak inside a cell made of dimeridium, a special metal that suppresses powers. They hire a Doppler to assume the identity of Mauserak by transforming into him and stealing his memories. Then, the Doppler kills Mauserak, and it's just sad to watch. He then makes his way to the forest, and Ciri believes he is Mauserak. She agrees to go with him to find Geralt, taking Dara with her and leaving the safety of the forest. Meanwhile, 7 years have passed since Pavetta's wedding, and Geralt is still bitter over getting to keep her child one day. Lately, he's been after a djinn in a lake, and after fishing for it all night, he finally finds it inside a pot. Jaskier hastily opens it and starts making wishes, but Geralt stops him from making his third wish, wishing he could have some peace from Jaskier. Geralt then drops the bottle and a cut forms on his arm. Jaskier suddenly gets really sick, and Geralt drives the djinn away. He takes Jaskier to a nearby elf doctor, but whatever the djinn did to Jaskier is beyond his skill. The doctor directs Geralt to a powerful mage that might be able to help him, and that mage turns out to be Yennefer. In the decades that followed Yennefer being assigned to Aedirn, she became fed up with her work and decided to go off the grid. Recently, she opened a shop for correctives. Eventually, the mayor of the town, Beau Barant, came to tax her. But instead of paying taxes, Yennefer cast a spell on the mayor and all of the people of the town that makes them take part in, which explains that horrific sight that we have to blur on your screen right now because YouTube will just straight up cancel us. Geralt is immune to the spell, and Yennefer becomes fascinated with Geralt and his Witcher abilities. But Geralt is more concerned with Yennefer helping Jaskier. She decides to help and stops. Geralt and Yennefer then share an iconic bath scene together, where they get to know one another and bond over their troubled childhoods. The next morning, Geralt inadvertently makes a second wish and realizes he's the one who has power over the djinn, not Jaskier. He then tries to help Yennefer get rid of the djinn, only to find her trying to claim it so that she can use it to give her a child. The process is killing her, so Geralt makes his third and final wish, and the djinn flees to another dimension. Yennefer awakens and is furious about what Geralt did. But Geralt then argues that she's never felt happy whenever she was trapped. They then end up making love. The following episode starts 1 year before Ciri's timeline. Geralt and Jaskier are approached by an old man named Borch and his 2 female Zerrikanian bodyguards, inviting them to join him and 3 other teams in hunting down a green dragon. Among the teams are a pair of dwarves led by Yarpen Zigrin, a group of mercenaries known as the Reavers, and naive Sir Ike of Dennisley. Geralt is against joining the hunt, as killing dragons is against his moral code, until he sees Yennefer with Sir Ike. Yennefer is still mad at Geralt for ruining her chances to have a child, and it becomes clear Yennefer is helping Sir Ike to spite Geralt. Along the way, Jaskier comes across a terrifying Hirika, and Geralt tells everyone to sheath their weapons because it is hungry. Ike instead proudly slaughters the poor creature and eats his kill. Everyone encourages him to not eat it, but according to Sir Ike, a knight must never waste a good kill. He ends up having intense diarrhea shortly after. Later, Yarpen finds Ike dead with his throat slit while he was pooping, and Yennefer suspects it was one of the Reavers. They decide to take a shortcut to beat the Reavers to the dragon, which requires them to take a very narrow and dangerous path along a steep mountainside. As they tiptoe their way across, the plank that Borch and his bodyguards were walking on breaks, making them hold on to the chain for dear life. Geralt catches them, but his planks start to buckle the longer he holds them. Borch realizes they will all die unless he lets go, so he thanks Geralt for everything and lets go, prompting his bodyguards to do the same. Despite not knowing the men for long, Geralt feels awful for not doing more to save them. This causes him to reconcile with Yennefer, and they make love in their tent, with Geralt staying by her side this time. The next morning, Yennefer is the first to reach the dragon's lair, discovering it belongs to a gold dragon, the rarest of them all. Suddenly, the 2 Zerrikanian bodyguards reveal themselves still alive and reveal that Borch is the dragon. Or should I call him Valentre Tenmirth? He enlisted Geralt because witchers are sworn to protect dragons, as Valentre Tenmirth's mate had died and he needed help protecting her egg. Sure enough, the Reavers show up, resulting in a fight. The Reavers are defeated, and Borch gives the dwarves a pair of dragon's teeth to take back to their king. After the battle, Geralt reveals what his 3rd wish was, and although it's ambiguously implied, it's something along the lines of his and Yennefer's destinies being bound forever. Yennefer is furious, as this explains why she's been so drawn to him lately, and criticizes him for trying to lecture her on raising a child when he abandoned the child he won through the law of surprise. Yennefer storms off, and Geralt takes out his anger on Jaskier, saying his life would be so much better if they never met. Jaskier realizes that he's right and leaves him heartbroken. Damn, that's rough! Back with Ciri, Dara begins to doubt that Mauserak is Mauserak and tries to get Ciri to realize it. She takes his advice and constantly asks Mauserak hard questions until the Doppler snaps and reveals he isn't Mauserak. A fight ensues, with Ciri stabbing the Doppler with a silver blade, forcing the Doppler to reveal its hideous true form. Ciri tells Dara to kill him, but Dara wants to question it first, prompting Ciri to hastily attack the Doppler, giving it time to break free. Dara is knocked unconscious, and Ciri runs away as the Doppler chases her. Dara eventually wakes up and finds her, and scolds her for not listening to him, saying she's just like every other human. He's had enough of her and leaves. Man, everyone is leaving this episode. Geralt's timeline begins in this episode right before Nilfgaard attacks Sintra, and he decides it is time to claim his law of surprise. He secretly meets with Mauserak and is shocked to learn that the child is a girl. He then meets with Calanthe to talk about Ciri, but Calanthe refuses to give up the child she raised as well as her only heir. Geralt argues that with Nilfgaard on the rise, Ciri will be safer with him. Calanthe finally allows it, but tricks Geralt into taking another girl instead. When Geralt realizes the deception, Calanthe doesn't hide her trickery, as she's confident the threat of Nilfgaard is nothing to worry about. After all, Nilfgaard is nothing more than the of the south, right? Geralt is then locked up as Calanthe fears Geralt will still attempt to take Ciri. Meanwhile, Yennefer finds her way back to Aretuza, where she learns from Triss and the others about Nilfgaard attacking Sintra. The other mages convene, debating whether or not to aid Sintra or side with Nilfgaard. Fringilla then enters, saying they need to side with Nilfgaard. She claims this is the only way to save the continent, and they only plan on taking Sintra. Many are against this, as Fringilla's methods have gone against everything the Brotherhood, the oldest governing order of sorcerers, has stood for. They all take a vote, and the majority side with letting Sintra fall, believing Nilfgaard will only stop at Sintra. After the vote, Tissaia speaks privately with Yennefer and reveals a small group of mages wish to stop Nilfgaard from advancing north. They know Nilfgaard won't stop after Sintra, so they plan to fight at another spot that Nilfgaard is sure to attack. Yennefer still doesn't care, until Tissaia begs her to at least do it for her. As Sintra falls, Geralt makes his escape from his cell, unaware that Mauserak was already coming to release him. As it's revealed, this is what Calanthe told Mauserak to do before she said, "It's time."
It's time.
He reports back to Calanthe, and she says that if Geralt escapes, then there is still hope for Ciri, so she is taken away like how we saw in episode 1. As Geralt fights his way through the soldiers, Calanthe's dead body lands near him, shocking him. Moving forward in time to when we last saw Ciri, she is all alone with a horse she stole. When her peasant friends from Sintra find her, she is overjoyed to see them, until they reveal they want to sell her to Nilfgaard as a bounty. As they try to contain her, Ciri accidentally releases another magical pulse, spouting a prophecy before the screen cuts to black, and all we hear is a piercing scream. Ciri awakens to find Zola, the woman she stole the horse from, trying to help her up. We also see her friends brutally killed as well as the horse. Oh, not the horse! In an aerial shot, we see that whatever happened, it came from Ciri. Meanwhile, Yennefer has decided to help the other mages, led by a mage who acts more like a soldier, Vilgefortz. They are on their way to Sodden Hill, the only location that Nilfgaard will try to push through to continue north. They will be aided by Temerian and Kaiwadian forces in 2 days, so they just have to prepare for battle till then. As she helps the army of peasants, Yennefer gains a new sense of purpose as she realizes that despite all the affliction she's endured, she can still make a difference with her gift. That night, Nilfgaard ends up attacking sooner than anticipated, and Yennefer protects them against their first attack. The attacks continue into the morning until only 22 of the mages remain. They see a male mage creating a dense fog coming directly at them, so Tissaia orders the mages to certain positions and directs Yennefer to the tower, while also wanting her to control her chaos. Getting a better view of the Nilfgaardian troops, Yennefer is able to direct the mages to stop each advancing platoon. The tactic slowly works, and Vilgefortz fights Cahir one-on-one. During the fight, Vilgefortz rushes his attacks and Cahir defeats him as he painfully tumbles down a mountain. Fringilla then breaches the gate with her magic and allows troops to fire inside the stronghold using a portal. With their outlook not looking favorable, Tissaia speaks with Fringilla alone and tries to get her to stop this attack. Fringilla instead throws a puff of Dimeridium in her face and unleashes a worm-like parasite inside the stronghold. Mages are being killed left and right, and Triss is wounded trying to hold the breached gate. The worms infiltrate a few of the peasants and mind controls them and another mage named Sabrina. The worms cause them to set off several explosions inside the stronghold, and Sabrina stabs Yennefer. One of the explosions sends them both flying off the tower, but only Yennefer sticks the landing as Sabrina is badly wounded. Bleeding out, Yennefer manages to stand and walk through the now dead peasants into the front gate. She calls out to anyone for help, but she gets no answer. Meanwhile, Vilgefortz proves to be still alive, and he finds a wounded mage that has just defeated several Nilfgaardian soldiers. When he calls out for help, Vilgefortz kills him. Looks like he might not be what he seems. As night falls, Yennefer finds a very weak Tissaia, who says that Yennefer is their best hope to win. Yennefer realizes what she must do, and lets her chaos explode, unleashing her power that engulfs the Nilfgaardian army in a tsunami of fire. Just as the Temerian and Caewedian troops arrive, it's worth noting that fire magic is forbidden. Not far from the battle, Ciri wakes up the next morning after having a dream about Tissaia and Geralt calling out to Yennefer, as she went missing shortly after unleashing her power. She finds herself in Zola's home, but she decides to sneak away to find Geralt. Ironically, Geralt is being carted to Zola's home after saving her husband from a necrophage attack, and overhears Zola talking about a girl she found in the woods nearby. Geralt recalls what Renfri told him before she died, and realizes it's Ciri. So, he walks into the woods and finds Ciri. She recognizes him from her dream and runs into his arms. Geralt realizes the power of destiny brought them both together, but Ciri is more concerned about who Yennefer is. Season 2 begins with Vilgefortz and the rest of Temeria and Caewedian troops killing the last of Nilfgaard's army, while Tissaia looks through the memories of fallen soldiers trying to find Yennefer. Unfortunately, she can't find her, and Vilgefortz urges her to move on as Yennefer's most likely dead. That's when Geralt arrives looking for Yennefer too, simultaneously fulfilling Ciri's dream. Does this mean Ciri can predict the future? Tissaia tells Geralt what happened, and he has to accept the fact that Yennefer may be dead. With Ciri now by his side and nowhere else safe for her, Geralt decides to take her to Kaer Morhen, the headquarters for the Witchers and where they used to train. Many Witchers call this place their home and will often find refuge there during the long winters. It used to be well known, but the place was attacked by fanatics and mages when Geralt was being trained as a Witcher. This resulted in the near extinction of all the Witchers, so now they like to keep a low profile. As Geralt puts it, the last time he checked there were 20 Witchers left now, maybe less. Meanwhile, Tissaia did capture Cahir and now holds him prisoner in Aretuza while she questions him on what Nilfgaard's next move is. And by question, I mean she tortures him. In the meantime, you'll be happy to know that Yennefer is not dead, but is currently Fringilla's prisoner. It turns out Fringilla and what's left of the Nilfgaardian army are on the run. Her plan is to use Yennefer as a bargaining chip for ruining Nilfgaard's chance to conquer the north. But at the end of the episode, all of Fringilla's men are slaughtered by an unknown enemy, leaving her and Yennefer all alone. The next episode starts with Yennefer and Fringilla waking up in an elven cart the next morning, commanded by Filavandrel. Welcome back, buddy! He is taking them to a dig nearby an elven temple built by a ruined monolith. They are brought here before their powerful sorceress Francesca Findabar, who immediately silences Fringilla when she tries to bargain with her. This is significant because elven mages were thought to be all dead. It's also worth noting that she and Filavandrel are a thing, and Francesca is pregnant with his baby. Francesca is annoyed that she was brought humans until Yennefer reveals she's part elf. But Francesca is quick to point out that Yennefer is not an elf because she doesn't act like one. She reveals that she has been seeing visions of a white-robed figure believed to be the elven prophet Ithleen. Ithleen's prophecy foretells the end of times via a white frost ice age, and the rebirth of the world through the birth of a child of the elder blood. What's strange is Yennefer and Fringilla have been having a similar dream, but of a figure in a red and black robe, respectively. Filavandrel then finds out about their dreams after overhearing them, and has them share them with Francesca. It seems destiny has brought them together. They are taken to a temple and led to an altar with elven speech written on it. Behold the Mother of Forests,
the Deathless Mother, nesting in dreams.
They also see an incantation about a hut with no doors. Fringilla's father used to scare her with stories about a witch in the woods, but Francesca believes that the Deathless Mother is one of the old gods. Her other name is Voleth Mare, and she is known for feeding on other people's pain. Suddenly, a secret passageway opens up beneath the altar, and Yennefer, Fringilla, and Francesca investigate. The passage leads to a hut with no doors, where they suspect Voleth Mare lives. They awaken the hut and then are all transported inside, where each of them simultaneously sees Voleth manifesting herself dressed like how she was in each of their dreams. Voleth makes Fringilla a proposition to gain power, while Francesca makes an offer to rebuild the elven community through the birth of a pure elf. This is significant because elves have a low birth rate on account of their longevity and how many of them died during their fertility years. A pure-blood elven baby could be seen as a miracle and a symbol of the rebirth of the elven race. As for Yennefer, Voleth leaves her to suffer a bit longer because she lost her chaos due to using fire magic at the Battle of Sodden Hill. Like I said, fire magic is forbidden.
Fire is dangerous magic.
She is eventually set free and released along the road where the elves and Fringilla are on their way to Nilfgaard to make an alliance between them. Yennefer calls them fools for putting their faith in an evil witch, but Fringilla doesn't believe it. Meanwhile, Geralt and Ciri arrive at Kaer Morhen, which is now a ruined fortress of what it used to be. He's welcomed by the other Witchers, such as Lambert and Cohen, as well as the only Witcher to survive the attack Geralt was talking about, who has been a father figure to them all, Vesemir. As they sit around the fire recounting their past tales, another Witcher named Eskel shows up. Geralt is the first to embrace him, and Eskel claims he's late because he was taking care of a rare leshy. He says it took him 6 hours to kill it and still feels the sting of one of its roots in its shoulder. That night they are attacked by a leshy, which turns out to be Eskel, courtesy of the leshy he killed. Geralt and Vesemir work together to try to save Eskel, but when he's about to strangle Vesemir, Geralt has no choice but to kill him. Having to kill another Witcher upsets Geralt, but Vesemir says he did what he had to do. Vesemir then hangs Eskel's medallion on the medallion tree, along with all the other dead Witchers, and Geralt begins Ciri's training. Episode 3 starts with Ciri training. Vesemir dissects the leshy Eskel turned into, trying to find a reason for the mutation. He can't figure anything out, and Geralt just tells him to let Eskel rest. Meanwhile, Ciri continues her training and is goaded by Lambert and Cohen to attempt a dangerous obstacle course. Despite getting the kicked out of her many times, she remains persistent to reach the end and even impresses Geralt when she gets so close. Yet, he's still concerned she attempted something suited for a Witcher. The next day, Geralt reveals to Ciri that she might have inherited her mother's powers, and they go to a spot in the woods where she is being pulled to. When they get there, they find the leshy Eskel said he killed still alive. Geralt protects Ciri from it, but they have bigger problems. A monstrous centipede-like creature known as a myriapod appears and kills the leshy before it chases them. Geralt kills it before it can hurt Ciri, but she's stressed now. What could all of these monster appearances mean? Meanwhile, Fringilla has allowed Nilfgaard to be a safe haven for elves through the alliance she made with the elves. She then speaks privately with Francesca, wanting to strengthen their alliance between their people so she can use their elves and their knowledge to invade the north. Francesca accepts, on the condition her people have a place where they can preserve a future. Little does Francesca know that Fringilla is only doing this to prove to the White Flame, aka Emperor Emir, she is a capable leader. Back at Aretuza, the other mages discuss how to handle the elves trying to align with Nilfgaard when Yennefer arrives. Tissaia is overjoyed to see that she's still alive after just declaring her dead. Regardless of how happy she is to see her, Tissaia informs Yennefer that despite her heroic efforts during the battle, it's best if Vilgefortz gets all the credit. This is because her absence has aroused suspicion amidst the Brotherhood, especially since she used forbidden fire magic to win the battle. After much debate, Stregobor and the other mages decide the only way Yennefer can prove her innocence is if she kills Cahir, proving that she isn't sided with the enemy. Yennefer is more upset about not being able to use her magic, as her magic had been her identity. Now, she's nothing.
Because it's all I have left!
Yennefer tries to leave at night, but Istred stops her. He warns her that Stragobor's guards are outside and tries to convince her that she can trust him. Istred tells her he plans to help elves migrating to Cintra, but Yennefer isn't moved by his noble quest. Yet, she heeds his advice and doesn't leave. Yennefer goes through with executing Cahir. It is a big, ceremonious event with several northern kings like Foltest and King Vizimir of Redania being present. By now, Yennefer has realized Cahir is being used as a tool to protect herself from the Brotherhood. So, to avoid the trap, she frees Cahir instead of killing him. They escape together on horseback, now on the run from the Brotherhood and the Northern Kingdoms. The next episode starts with Triss, fully healed from her injuries, arriving at Kaer Morhen to help Ciri with her magical training, similar to how Mauserak helped her. She is a welcoming sight to the stronghold, and everyone is happy to see her, especially Geralt. Geralt informs Triss of Ciri's abilities and the pull she experienced that led them to the Leshy and Myriapod. Triss suspects that a mage is after Ciri, but neither of them can answer why. So, they run a test to make sure, and as they wait for the results, Triss tries to comfort Geralt after all that's happened to them at Sodden Hill and with Yennefer. But Geralt struggles to reciprocate her advances.
But you do.
The next morning, they check their experiment, and sadly there's no evidence of it being a mage, but there are traces of stellacite, an element only found in the monoliths. They determine that both creatures came from a monolith, which is odd because the monoliths don't work anymore. Ciri recalls the time her scream caused a monolith to topple and created a rift in the ground. And when she touches the stellacite, Ciri gets another vision. They deduce the monsters are the result of what happened that night, and that Ciri is capable of opening a monolith to another dimension. Ciri is ashamed as she never meant for this, and Geralt understands, promising to fix it. While Geralt is away, Vesemir examines the blood spilt by Ciri when she was on the training grounds and discovers Fainawed, a flower that only grows where elder blood is spilt, which means Ciri has her mother's dormant elf gene passed down to a few women in her family tree. I mentioned this before, but I'm bringing it up again, as Vesemir sees this as a chance to create more Witchers using Ciri. It's also worth noting that the mutagen used to create new Witchers was destroyed when Kaer Morhen was destroyed, hence why there haven't been any more Witchers since the attack. Meanwhile, elves are being rounded up and taken prisoner in the northern kingdoms before they can migrate and find refuge in Nilfgaard. Pieces begin moving against the leaders of each kingdom, and Vizimir is almost poisoned by two of his closest advisors had it not been for one of his spy masters, Sigismund Dijkstra. Dijkstra informs Vizimir that an alliance between the leaders of the northern kingdoms is forming based on their hatred of elves. But with Calanthe gone, now is the time to make a play for Cintra. Alone, Dijkstra contemplates how to get their way inside Cintra and realizes the only way is to send an elven spy. They find one that was rounded up as a prisoner, and it just so happens to be Dada. While that's happening, Yennefer and Cahir are still on the run, trying not to draw attention to themselves. Unfortunately, they are spotted by a guard and have to hide in the city's sewers. There, they run into two elves and learn that they are trying to be smuggled out of town through someone only known as the Sandpiper. They gain their trust and take them to meet him. They reach the place he works and wait below while he performs so he can smuggle them out later. As they wait, they hear the Sandpiper singing a crowd-roaring tune about how terrible Witchers are, and Yennefer recognizes who the Sandpiper is: Jaskier! They reconnect after all this time, and Jaskier explains that he wanted to smuggle elves because this won't stop with the persecution of the elves. Who knows, maybe one day people might come for him. He offers to help them, but is a bit shocked to find Cahir needing his help too. Jaskier successfully smuggles them onto a boat headed for Cintra, and Dada just happens to be one of them. Before they depart, Jaskier figures out Yennefer lost her magic and tells her chaos is not done with her yet. However, when he leaves, Yennefer hears him scream. When she investigates, she only sees his broken lute. Cahir urges her to come back inside, but Yennefer can't leave without knowing what happened to Jaskier. Episode 5 kicks off with us seeing that Jaskier has been kidnapped by a dangerous mage that casually uses fire magic named Rents. He was recently freed after being forgotten about in a cell, and now has been tasked with one goal: finding Ciri for Nilfgaard. Rents psychotically tortures Jaskier with his fire magic, and Jaskier accidentally lets slip about the location of Kaer Morhen. Yennefer then stumbles in, pretending to be Jaskier's drunk wife as part of a rescue plan. Rents tells her to leave, and when she refuses, he pins her against a beam with a flame to her head. Yennefer then spits her alcohol at the flame, and it burns the side of his face, giving them time to escape. As they flee, they are forced to separate when Yennefer is recognized by some guards. They both escape, but then Yennefer is captured by the guards. I bet she wishes she still had her magic right now. Yennefer faces execution, but can only save herself if she gets her powers back. After resisting the urge to ever since their first encounter, Yennefer calls out to Voleth and teleports to her. Jaskier sees this from the window and is locked up for being a peeping Tom. Voleth explains that she isn't a wish giver and will give Yennefer her powers back, but only if she delivers Ciri to a shattered black door outside Sintra. Could she mean the monolith? Meanwhile, Cahir arrives in Sintra and is welcomed back by Fringilla, while Dara himself checks in as a new arrival. Cahir once again begins his quest to find Ciri. Speaking of Ciri, Vesemir tells Ciri about her elder blood, as well as her being the key to creating more Witchers. He only needs a vial of the blood, and she accepts on one condition: that she is the test subject to become a Witcher. Vesemir refuses, knowing how painful the process is, until Ciri convinces him to give her a chance to heal something for once.
Let me help heal something for once.
It's worth noting, no girl has ever survived the Trial of the Grasses, so Vesemir's caution is very warranted. Geralt, along with the world's greatest monolith expert Istred, investigate the monolith Ciri destroyed, and are shocked to see how massive the rift is. They examine the shattered monolith up close, and Istred reveals he was at another monolith at the time this one shattered. He says that the monolith vibrated for a few seconds, suggesting the monoliths are talking to each other. He theorizes they are calling out to the original spheres, opening a gateway to the spheres. In other words, the monsters aren't new, they're just new to the continent. Istred then asks Geralt how he knew about this, and he refuses to say anything as he believes Istred will use this information to help the elves. Istred claims he only came here hoping to find Yennefer, and it's here that Geralt learns she's still alive. At this moment, Triss is helping Ciri calm herself before the procedure with something known as Dol Durza, and they both dig deep into Ciri's mind. The deeper they go, they find wounded elven sorceress Lara Doran, a distant ancestor of Ciri's shortly after the conjunction of the spheres. She is holding her half-elf child Rhiannon, the first half-elf child to be born with elder blood. The birth of her baby and her relationship with her human lover Creganen made her a traitor amongst her people, as she was supposed to marry another elf. The death of Creganen sparked the hostility between the two races still seen today. When Triss tries to help her, Lara strangles Triss and turns to Ciri saying, "Child of elder blood, child of wrath." Suddenly, the sky turns red, and Ciri sees coming towards them on the clouds the Wild Hunt. A ghastly cavalcade of skeletal horsemen capable of traveling through space and time, led by King Eredin. Their arrival marks the beginning of something terrible about to happen, as they are a harbinger of destruction, and right now they have their skeleton hearts on Ciri's elder blood, which will allow them to leave their dying world and invade others. Ciri becomes scared and calls out to Geralt. Her cries somehow echo into the real world, cracking the medallion tree and making the pieces of the shattered monolith activate another gateway. Triss and Ciri then wake up, and Ciri tries to comfort a traumatized Triss, but Triss doesn't want Ciri anywhere near her. The gateway allowed a Chernobog to appear, and it flies away, proving their portal theory. The experience makes Ciri want to be a Witcher now more than ever, but right after Vesemir injects her with the mutagen, Geralt appears through a portal created by Istrid and stops him. Ciri argues that she wants this because she's tired of not being enough and wants to be indifferent to the past. Geralt comforts her by saying she is already enough, and being a Witcher won't change that. Her best chance is to kill the hatred and move on. Geralt then decides it's time they leave Kaer Morhen, and they head to the Melitelli Temple, a safe place where violence is prohibited. Along the way, they are attacked by the Chernobog that escaped. Geralt fights it, but it comes at Ciri and badly wounds Roach. It flies away, and Geralt has no choice but to put down his oldest companion. Man, they didn't have to do Roach like that. Geralt then defeats the Chernobog using Ciri as bait, avenging Roach's death. Back at Kaer Morhen, Vesemir finds comfort with Triss as he is ashamed for what he was about to do to Ciri. Suddenly, they are attacked by Rents and his scarred face. He proves to be more powerful than Triss and badly burns Vesemir before leaving, but not without the mutagen. Geralt and Ciri then arrive at the temple, and we see Yennefer is also there, waiting for an opportunity to steal Ciri. She does run into Geralt, and they are both overjoyed to see each other as they fall into each other's arms again. Ciri walks in on them, and Yennefer realizes she is Geralt's child surprise.
Child surprise.
Meanwhile, Francesca goes into labor sooner than expected, but successfully gives birth to a pure-blood elven baby girl that they name Fiona. Every elf in Nilfgaard rejoices for this historic moment, and Cahir is quick to point out to Fringilla that it's only a matter of time before this shatters her alliance with Francesca. I mean, he's got a point. If the elves know they can reproduce on their own, they don't need any help from the humans. He then reveals the White Flame is on his way to Nilfgaard. Meanwhile, Rents attacks the temple along with the Michelet brothers. He tries to steal Ciri. Geralt comes to her aid, entrusting Ciri with Yennefer. They make their way to a room, but there's no exit and Rents is right behind them. He tries to break the door down with all his power, and Yennefer teaches Ciri how to open a portal. She manages to, right as Geralt drives Rents and his men away, but Yennefer refuses to give Ciri back to Geralt, apologizing to him. The portal took them to Zola's home, as Ciri imagined this would be the only safe place for them. Unfortunately, they discover Zola and her family were recently burned alive by Rents when he was searching for her. Ciri realizes Rents is working for Nilfgaard, so Yennefer figures Sintra is their next location, convincing Ciri that Geralt will be heading there too. Not knowing where Yennefer and Ciri are, Geralt takes this time to rescue Jaskier in his cell. Despite still being angry with him for all the things Geralt said to him and for leaving him on top of a mountain, Jaskier is grateful Geralt rescued him. These guys got a solid bromance. Jaskier recounts how he got locked up and that he was with Yennefer and that she lost her powers. Jaskier then suddenly realizes that if she lost her powers, then how could she teleport away from her captivity? Geralt deduces Yennefer's deal with Voleth and tells him they need to get to Sintra. At that moment, they run into their old dwarf friend Yarpen and his merry men. Yarpen offers to help Geralt in his quest and even offers him a new horse. Meanwhile, Ciri and Yennefer come across a river with a downed bridge and no other way across. Yennefer sees this as an opportunity to teach Ciri more magic and helps her raise the bridge. But the effort is too much for Ciri to handle, and she starts bleeding from her eyes. Yennefer begs her to stop, but it only makes Ciri angrier and she screams, which just so happens to teleport them to the other side. Ciri tries to apologize for losing control, but Yennefer tells her to never apologize for having powerful magic. Meanwhile, Triss has made her way back to Aretuza and tells Tissaia what happened during the Dol Durza a few days ago. She finds out Tissaia already told Vilgefortz, and it made him desperate to find Ciri, saying she is the key to end this war. Triss storms out, and Vilgefortz loses his temper.
Ask you to if it wasn't necessary!
Back with Ciri, she and Yennefer reach the shattered monolith, and Ciri is overwhelmed to be back home. She can also sense Yennefer is acting stranger the closer they get to the monolith, and that's when she realizes Geralt isn't here and this was all a trap. Yennefer tries to apologize, but then Ciri gets angry and creates another rift that reaches all the way back to Cintra. Cintra soldiers experience this and sound the alarms. Soldiers come after them, but luckily, Geralt and the dwarves come to their rescue, killing the soldiers. Geralt then turns his blade on Yennefer, not sure if he can trust her anymore. He tells Ciri to take Jaskier, Yarpen, and his men to Kaer Morhen while he deals with Yennefer. Meanwhile, Francesca and Filavandrel awaken to find Fiona murdered, and Francesca's outburst of pain gives Voleth the strength to break free and possess Ciri. Ciri suddenly finds herself back in Cintra with Mauserak during a past memory, while Voleth makes her way through Kaer Morhen using Ciri's body, killing sleeping witchers. She's about to kill Vesemir, but Geralt arrives and stops her along with Yennefer. She runs off, disappearing somewhere into Kaer Morhen. Witchers prepare to battle Voleth by consuming potions, and Geralt finds her in front of the Medallion Tree. Geralt offers himself in exchange for Ciri, but Voleth uses Ciri's abilities to split the tree in two, revealing there was a monolith inside the tree all this time. She shatters it, sending sharp pieces at the Witchers, before opening a portal that allows two monstrous creatures from another dimension to enter. It becomes too difficult, so Geralt tries to reach Ciri in her fantasy, slowly getting to her. Witchers begin dying left and right, and Ciri resists Geralt trying to save her, so Yennefer decides to be a vessel for Voleth instead of Ciri as a way to redeem herself. And Geralt tells Ciri the only way to defeat Voleth is to open the monolith via a portal and send her through. It works, and Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri are also thrust through it, with Voleth immediately leaving Yennefer's body. The Wild Hunt just so happens to be there, and Voleth possesses their ranks. They charge towards the heroes, calling out to Ciri, but Ciri teleports them away just in time. After that, Yennefer tends to the wounded Witchers, revealing her powers are back. As they deal with Voleth, Dada reveals he is no longer Dijkstra's spy after he became fed up with their manipulation, which may be the reason why Fiona was killed. Dada blames himself for destroying his people's hope, but Francesca doesn't blame him, but Redania. They ride to Redania and kill several human babies in retaliation. Francesca and the others vow that this is just the beginning, and that night Istrid arrives at the camp. At first, they want to kill him because he's human, until he tells them of Ciri and her elder blood. Francesca realizes this is who Ithleen prophesized, and is the only one who can save them. Little do they realize Dijkstra's owl, who's a shape-shifting mage named Philippa, was listening to their conversation and reports back to him. Dijkstra then says it's time they pay back their benefactor, and mentions some sort of bard. Surely they don't mean Jaskier. Could he be working for Redania? Geralt and Yennefer get a chance to speak after everything, and Geralt says he can't forgive her for what she did. Regardless, he recalls something Vilentre Tenmirth said to him, that they are destined for each other, but destiny alone isn't enough. So the one thing that will tie them together is Ciri. There is one thing that has been bothering Geralt all this time. How did Nilfgaard know Ciri was the key to everything before everyone else? The answer, my friends, is quite simple. Emperor Emhyr of Nilfgaard, the White Flame, is Urcheon, Ciri's father. Season 3 starts with us learning that ever since the events of Kaer Morhen, Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri have been on the run from bounty hunters, either working for rents or simply just trying to kill them. If they ever get a chance to lay low somewhere, Yennefer continues training Ciri on controlling her chaos. though Ciri struggles with the discipline required. After 6 whole months of this, they decide to settle down in a home provided by Yarpen, which means they finally get adequate food and a chance to act like a family. Sometime later, the trio decides to attend a festival, doing their best to not get noticed. Their fun is ruined when they are attacked by a jackapace at the festival's maze, no doubt sent by Rents. Now exposed, they decide the only way they can defeat Rents is to set a trap for him, and also because they are tired of running. In Redania, Vizimir is upset with Dijkstra. He was promised Ciri as his wife, and she hasn't been found yet. So, he assigns his weak-minded brother Radovid to locate Ciri, which doesn't make Dijkstra very happy. Philippa and Radovid track down Jaskier, confirming he has been working for Redania, even during his days as the Sandpiper. They discuss plans to capture Ciri, but Radovid is more preoccupied with being starstruck in the presence of his favorite bard. Philippa gives Jaskier 5 days to locate Ciri, promising to make him the royal bard if he succeeds. As they leave, Yarpen finds Jaskier, telling him his friend needs help, and he joins them at Sheroed. There, they successfully draw Rents out and fight him. Yarpen's men arrive to even the odds, and Rents opens a dark portal to escape, with Geralt right behind him. The portal takes them to Rents's base of operations in the Redanian castle Vuilpana. Yennefer struggles to keep the portal open, as a dark portal means another mage is helping him. Suddenly, a band of guerrilla elves known as the Scoatiel working for Francesca arrive to capture Ciri. They are led by Gallatin, and Dada is there with them, which breaks Ciri's heart. They hold them off, and Geralt has no choice but to leave Rents when he sees elves are now involved in the fight. Geralt goes back through the portal and valiantly fights them back. Jaskier is injured as the elves fall back. After the battle, the trio realizes they need to split up. Yennefer and Ciri go to Aretuza to seek Tissaya's help, while Geralt tracks down Rents. Meanwhile, Jaskier decides to take up Philippa and Radovid's proposal on one condition. They kill Rents. The next episode starts with Fringilla and Cahir. Ever since they failed to control Nilfgaard and the elves, Fringilla and Cahir have been imprisoned and tortured by Emhyr. Lucky for them, they still have friends, and Cahir is the first to be rescued by Gallatin, as they are old friends. Gallatin has had enough of Francesca's superstitious pursuit of Ciri, as it is causing everyone else to suffer and die for a future that has never been achieved. Gallatin is going rogue, and Cahir offers him a new path: kill Francesca and join the White Flame. While Cahir has a friend still looking out for him, Fringilla ends up having to escape her captivity on her own by posing as a dead prisoner. As they look for Rents, Radovid and Jaskier play for him and his friends back in Redania, and the two begin falling in love with each other. Tissaya and Vilgefortz have also been romantically involved, which may explain how Vilgefortz knows everything Tissaya knows. He gives her a bracelet for protection, but it's really more of a gesture of his love for her. Or is it? Meanwhile, Geralt investigates Vuilpane and slays a monster who turns out to be 3 women transformed by mutagenic sorcery. He also rescues a distraught half-elven girl from the forest that was part of an experiment, and after getting her to safety, the girl recognizes Geralt and claims to be Ciri. Huh? Who is she? Episode 3 starts with Geralt showing Jaskier the girl claiming to be Ciri, but she can't stop going in and out of lucid moments. He takes her to see his half-elven druidess friend Annika, hoping to fix the girl and figure out who and what she is. Annika examines the girl and discovers she's been exposed to a mind control enchantment. She gives her a potion to heal her and hopefully explain why she was made to believe she was Ciri. Back in Redania, Vizimir has been acting on diplomatic matters without the approval of Dijkstra and Philippa, oblivious to the fact that he is foolishly setting up the kingdom for an inevitable ruin. Dijkstra suggests that Philippa reach out to Tissaya, but she doesn't want to. See, Tisea and Philippa used to be the best of friends, but when their goals didn't align before the Battle of Sodden Hill, they began to hate each other. So Dijkstra and Philippa decide to use Radovid for an important mission. The mission involves Radovid unknowingly delivering the head of Queen Hedwig, Visimir's wife, and making it look like Nilfgaard killed her. Radovid is horrified by what just happened, but Dijkstra reminds him that he can't say or do anything because he was the one who personally delivered his wife's head in a box. While that's happening, Yennefer reunites with Tisea in Gor Velen, and blames her for everyone in the north trying to capture Ciri. Tisea denies that she ever betrayed her, as everything she's done has been for northern unity. Yennefer then asks for her help in hiding Ciri at Aretuza, hoping this will help her control her powers better. Tisea agrees, and says that Yennefer has finally become something she's always wanted to be, a mother. Meanwhile, Ciri is chaperoned around a village having a fair, where she can't help but expose a con artist thanks to her witcher knowledge. The con artist is displaying a creature that he claims is a basilisk, but it's actually a starving wyvern. Ciri lets it free and is forced to kill it as she is aided by a thief named Missile. She gets out of there before more attention is drawn to her, but realizes Missile stole her money. She then calls for Yennefer, and Tisea finally gets the chance to meet Ciri. She looks into Ciri's mind, and whatever she saw caused her to cry tears of blood. I'm sure that'll be alright in the end. Later, Yennefer suggests that the best course of action to prevent the mages from turning on each other like they have in every kingdom is to create a conclave built on trust. Back with Cahir, he manages to get a meeting with Emir, where Gallatin offers himself to him and reveals Francesca's mission to locate Ciri. Emir is impressed, but sees this as another manipulation tactic from Cahir. Nevertheless, Emir likes what Cahir has to say, and he offers him another chance to prove himself. Cahir does so by murdering Gallatin, his best friend. What better to prove your loyalty to your emperor than cutting every other loyalty? Cahir immediately becomes ridden with guilt for having just murdered his best friend. Yeah, buddy, I don't know if that was worth it. Meanwhile, Geralt questions the girl when she is better. He learns her name is Terran, and that she was kidnapped at Aretuza by a man with a scar. Could she mean Rents? It's also revealed that the monster Geralt encountered at Vuilpane was actually 3 novice mages from Aretuza, and who knows how many more were kidnapped. That night, Geralt and Annika talk about his druid mother Vicenna, and how she died. Geralt recalls fond memories with her, and then the last day he saw her when she abandoned him. They were on the road when she was sick and thirsty, so Geralt, being the best son in the world, went to the river nearby to fetch some water, but when he came back, she was gone. And that's when Vesemir found a young Geralt, calling out for his mother. It's really a sad tale. No wonder this guy broods more than any of the other witchers. Meanwhile, Ciri decides to go back to Geralt, but on the road she is found by the Wild Hunt. They chase her, but luckily Geralt comes to her rescue and drives them away with a few blasts of his magic. Ciri and Geralt embrace, and a bit of their armor confirms the Wild Hunt is real, and that Ciri did accidentally leave the monolith open for them to enter their world. To be continued in Season 5. The following episode kicks off as Yennefer brings her conclave proposal to the other mages. It isn't well received at first, but they all have negative opinions regarding her and the ridiculous idea that the Northern Kingdoms can work together after everything. Yennefer tells them that they need to move on from the past in order to preserve the future, and above all, learn to trust one another. I guess this means no more scheming. I'm looking at you, Stregobor! Vilgefortz is the first to voice his approval of this, and the rest of the mages follow. All except for Stregobor, who calls Yennefer an overgrown fungus. Real mature, buddy. Meanwhile, Triss has been trying to investigate the missing students like Terran, and runs into Istred in the library. Istred has been trying to locate the Book of Monoliths, which holds the key to traveling between spheres, but it's gone missing. Triss then realizes that every girl that was taken is half-elf, and Istred figures out that whoever took the book must be trying to get rid of mages that aren't pure-blooded. Is there someone out there that doesn't like elves that much? While that's going on, Yennefer attends Hedwig's funeral and asks that Vizimir allow Philippa to join their new conclave. Vizimir allows it after Yennefer appeals to him, but he insists that Dijkstra and Radovid join too. As she portals back to Aretuza, someone corrupts her portal and tries to kill her with an illusion of Geralt. Luckily, she makes it back to Aretuza barely even hurt, but Triss notices there are traces of stellacite on her. Triss tells Istrid about this, and they use a locator spell to find where the book is using the stellacite Yennefer had on her. Anyway, after proving his loyalty, Cahir joins forces with Francesca in their search for Ciri. The elves refuse at first, but then they decide to join forces, as they have no other choice after everything that's happened to them. Meanwhile, Geralt, Ciri, and Jaskier arrive at Aretuza for a banquet to celebrate the new conclave. Jaskier is instructed to keep Ciri company in a safe haven while everyone parties during the banquet. Why? Well, there may be certain mages that want Ciri, but while he watches Ciri, Jaskier hears a noise outside. He investigates, armed with his trusty lute, and discovers Radovid trying to see him. Radovid confesses his love for Jaskier and shows that he learned Jaskier's song. Jaskier is absolutely touched by this and kisses him. Meanwhile, Yennefer tells Geralt about the assassination attempt she survived, and they both deduce that Stregobor is Rence's boss. They don't have sufficient proof, so they have to be careful with how they act around Stregobor during the banquet. Episode 5 starts as everyone mingles about and sets in motion the political pieces for the evening. It's basically one big, happy, passive-aggressive reunion for almost all of our characters. During this, Yennefer learns from Istrid about the book and that they believe Stregobor has it. She reports back to Geralt, so he and Istrid devise a heated distraction so Yennefer can slip away and look inside Stregobor's quarters. There, she finds artifacts in a locked cabinet that contains personal items from the girls that were abducted. Unfortunately, she accidentally activates a security enchantment and Stregobor catches her going through everything. Everyone else joins her, and she tells them what Stregobor has done, but he has no idea what she's talking about. Things look even worse for Stregobor when Istrid then finds the missing book in the cabinet. While Stregobor admits that he has never liked elves, he denies ever stealing the book or abducting the girls. Still, he's taken into custody and Tissaia takes the book with her to keep it safe. They all return to the banquet, where Tissaia drinks a toast to Unity and to Yennefer for saving the evening. It's a happy moment, and Geralt ends up doing something he most likely hasn't done in decades. He tells Yennefer, "I love you."
I love you.
They make love and celebrate their victory. However, the next morning, Geralt and Yennefer begin putting more pieces together from other conversations they had, and realize the culprit isn't Stregobor, it's Vilgefortz. Geralt recalls his conversation with Vilgefortz, where Vilgefortz mentioned a war was coming and that Geralt needed to pick a side fast. Which is weird, since Witchers always remain neutral in wars. Anyway, Yennefer works to locate Tissaia to make sure she's safe, while Geralt makes his way to Vilgefortz. But then, Dijkstra sneaks up behind Geralt and holds a knife to his throat, telling him he should have picked a side. And so it begins. The next episode starts with Philippa and Dijkstra along with a horde of Redanian soldiers rounding up all the mages that aligned with Vilgefortz in his allegiance to Nilfgaard. Geralt isn't taken prisoner as he's still a neutral party to their conflict, but they have to hold him as a precaution. So Geralt lays down his weapon and complies. Yennefer sees what's happening and avoids capture by going through a secret passage in her room. She gets a message to Ciri, and Jaskier realizes that Radovid seduced him so he could get to Ciri. Luckily, Ciri escaped before she could get captured. Jaskier is furious at Radovid, but later forgives him. I mean, Radovid was literally forced into this. He didn't want to do it. Meanwhile, Tissaia enters not handcuffed in Demeridium like the other captured mages, and she refuses to believe Vilgefortz is a traitor, even though Geralt informs them that Vilgefortz admitted it during the banquet. Geralt then looks outside and notices the Redanian army is arriving by several ships concealed in a fog spell. Vilgefortz says that they are here to destroy everything the mages have worked for, and pressures Tissaia into freeing everyone. Despite everyone else telling her not to, Tissaia frees everyone. The mages fight back, while Geralt cripples Dijkstra trying to escape. Vilgefortz then reveals to Tissaia that he is a traitor, as he dark portals Francesca, Cahir, Falavendrel, and the Scoia'tael into the school. I guess it wasn't the Redanian army. Vilgefortz has turned evil because he is very power-hungry and ambitious.
Oh, that real f***ing original.
And he tells Tissaia it was too easy to manipulate her with loving trust. He leaves, and the other mages rush to a devastated Tissaia's side. Meanwhile, another battle starts. They've come for Ciri, but by now, Ciri has reunited with Yennefer away from the school. Yennefer and Ciri try to find a way off the island. During the fight, Tissaia tries to cast a killing blow at Francesca, but Falavendrel does a "get down, Mr. President," and sacrifices himself to save her. His death shatters Francesca's heart, and Artorias tries to take this opportunity to kill her with her guard down. But he's then killed by Fringilla, his own niece, revealing she's aligned with Vilgefortz. Meanwhile, Yennefer and Ciri are attacked by Rents while trying to escape, but they are able to defeat him thanks to Geralt. The battle continues on, as everything goes from bad to worse. Tissaia is guilt-ridden for trusting Vilgefortz, so in a fit of blind rage, she ascends to a high place and summons Alzur's Thunder, a very powerful and complex spell that summons a bolt of lightning to kill one's target. Yennefer sees this and leaves Geralt and Ciri so she can stop Tissaia as she channels countless bolts of lightning at everyone. Meanwhile, Istredd finds the Book of the Monolith, only to find Vilgefortz looking for it too. Vilgefortz sends Istredd through a dark portal along with the book. As Geralt and Ciri look for a way off the island, they are approached by Cahir. Ciri sees this as her chance for getting revenge on everything that's happened to her and tries to fight him, but Cahir doesn't want to fight. He's actually super guilty about everything he's done to find her and begs for her to kill him. But Ciri hesitates and the Scoia'tael find them, so Cahir holds them off so they can escape. Casting Alzur's Thunder has made Tissaia very weak, and her hair turns snow white. She isn't able to keep the attack up, but her efforts gave everyone a chance to fight one last time. Yennefer rejoins her sisters to lead the attack, but then Stregobor appears in front of her. He taps into fire magic and tells the surviving mages to leave while he holds Francesca and her army off.
Falcon will be waiting for you.
This sadly results in his death, but at least he had a chance to prove he wasn't always the bad guy. Maybe we misjudged you, Stregobor. Rest in peace. Geralt and Ciri reach some hidden boats, but then Geralt sees Vilgefortz is near, so he tells Ciri to leave on her own. Vilgefortz gives Geralt one last chance to side with him before he absolutely destroys Geralt with his staff. Geralt tries to fight back, but Vilgefortz is too powerful and breaks Geralt's sword. Vilgefortz then breaks Geralt's leg and back and leaves him for dead. Vilgefortz finds Ciri making her way back to the Tower of Tor Lara and offers her a chance to be his pupil. The tower holds a monolith, so Ciri taps into its power, causing a massive explosion that badly hurts Vilgefortz, resulting in the loss of his eye. Ciri, meanwhile, disappears through the monolith, and unconscious Geralt is found by Triss drifting in the ocean. She takes him to the Brokilon forest so the Dryads can heal him. The battle has ended, and everyone bears witness to the unveiling of the monolith. It's an intense moment, as they all realize the Second War has begun. The following episode starts as Ciri awakens in Korath, a desert wasteland. As this is where the monolith teleported her, she wanders around in the blazing heat looking for food and water, and is tormented by visions of her past and future and loved ones. She eventually finds some water, but it turns out to be a trap by one of the creatures that lives in the desert. Luckily, she is saved by a unicorn, whom she calls Little Horse, and Little Horse helps her find water and food. Later, she is haunted by visions of Falka, a half-elven princess burnt at the stake for her crimes. She shows Ciri an unclear possible future that involves some sort of tavern and offers her the chance to change it, leaving her alone to decide. Eventually, Ciri and Little Horse come across another desert monster, and Ciri manages to defeat it, but Little Horse is gravely wounded. That's when Falka appears and encourages Ciri to use fire magic to heal Little Horse. Despite knowing it's forbidden, Ciri learns how to wield fire magic and heals Little Horse. But Little Horse knows what Ciri did to heal her, so she runs off, afraid of what Ciri has become. But Falka praises Ciri for unlocking this power she had inside her all along, and Ciri loves how good it feels. She then steps into the fire and sees a fiery vision of the future, where everyone she loves and hates is tortured and killed by her new power. Ciri hates what she sees and relinquishes her powers. That's when she wakes up and finds herself surrounded by bounty hunters. Meanwhile, Jaskier arrives at Brokilon Forest and discovers the Dryads have created a refuge for everyone wounded in battle. He finds Geralt barely alive but stable, and informs him of Ciri's disappearance, and how Nilfgaard has been razing northern villages to the ground looking for her. What's strange is that Emir just issued a celebration. He says Ciri has been found and is on her way to Nilfgaard. How is that possible, though? Geralt hears this and is determined more than ever to find Ciri, even if he has to limp his way across the continent. One of the women there, Milva, quickly points out how foolishly stubborn he's being and forces him to stay in bed so that he can rescue her. Milva, whose real name is Maria, was an elf taken in by the Dryads years ago and has since been trying to find her place on the continent. Back with Yennefer, who has been looking for Ciri ever since the battle, she meets with Crachon Crate, who, if you remember, was supposed to be wed to Pavetta. She learns about Ciri being on her way to Nilfgaard, and Yennefer suspects Vilgefortz and his forces are keeping her at Vilpane. So she and the remaining mages storm the place, but they find it deserted and finally uncover the horrifying fate of the kidnapped girls. Philippa is there, who has had a change of heart after the battle and is siding with them, but she blames Tissaia for everything that happened. This creates some hostile tension between Tissaia and Philippa, but they agree to put that behind them in order to stop Vilgefortz. Sadly, when they get back to Aretuza to bury their dead, Tissaia commits suicide. She couldn't bear the guilt of what she did anymore. Meanwhile, Dijkstra reports back to Vizimir on all that happened, but Vizimir is not happy with him. He threatens to make an example of him unless he turns Philippa into a scapegoat for failing the attempted coup. When Philippa returns to Redania, Dijkstra confronts her with a hidden knife in his cane. He explains that someone has to pay for their failure and then points the knife at himself. He asks for Philippa to kill him and convince Vizimir it was his fault. She takes the knife and then reveals she has a plan to protect them both. How? Well, a close friend of hers, Eva, murders Vizimir instead. They find his dead body and Philippa crowns Radovid as the new king of Redania.
King Radovid.
Fringilla and Francesca report to Emir on their victory and how they shattered the Brotherhood. Fringilla then proposes that once Ciri is brought to Nilfgaard, Francesca can finally be allowed to have a home for her people. Emir instead offers a different proposal, as he wants to get rid of the Scoia'tael by making them dispensable in his army. Francesca objects to this, as the Scoia'tael are loyal to her, but once again, she has no choice but to accept this. Later, Francesca tells Fringilla she plans on taking up Ymir's offer, so Fringilla reveals that it was Ymir that orchestrated her baby's death, not Redania. Francesca is shocked by this, and realizes that if Fringilla hadn't told Ymir about her baby to save herself, Fiona, Valavandrel, and everyone else she loved would still be alive. Anyway, Ciri finally arrives at Nilfgaard, and Ymir welcomes her with a grand ceremony. But when she comes before Ymir, we see that it's actually Terran, no doubt Vilgefortz's doing. But Ymir has never even seen or met Ciri, so he believes that it actually is Ciri. The real Ciri is still currently being held prisoner by the bounty hunters that rescued her. She and another prisoner named Kaylee work together to try and escape. It's here that Ciri realizes that she is in the future Falka showed her in the desert. Suddenly, they are rescued by Kaylee's group of outlaws known as the Rats. And it turns out Missel, the thief from the fair, is one of them too. Ciri ends up leaving with them, going by the name Falka. By now, Geralt has healed from his wounds, and despite Milva not being satisfied, Geralt leaves with Jaskier to find Ciri. Eventually, they come across a checkpoint, and Geralt can't help but get involved when an innocent family can't get through. He defeats the countless soldiers, proving he's back to his full strength. Milva, who's been watching him the whole time, helps him kill 3 soldiers. She followed him because Ethne says she's lost, so she figured helping Geralt would help her to become found. She joins Geralt and Jaskier as Geralt declares he will never stop fighting to save Ciri. Sadly, Geralt's quest is going to have to be completed by a different actor. The previous actor who played him, Henry Cavill, a longtime fan of the source material, became fed up with the direction of the show, and I honestly can't say I blame him. So, they ended up recasting him with Liam Hemsworth. In the words of OG Geralt of Rivia, frick. Season 4 kicks off with Geralt, Jaskier, and Milva on their way to Nilfgaard to find Ciri. Every night, Geralt has dreams about Ciri being in danger, which has made him more agitated and desperate to find Ciri. The trio eventually comes across a group of soldiers that were slain by bandits and see they were transporting a coffin with air holes on the side. They open it and see a tied-up Cahir. Geralt immediately wants to kill him for all the pain he's caused Ciri, but Milva encourages them to leave him as more soldiers start coming. In rage, Geralt stabs his knife just inches from Cahir's head and leaves. Cahir then uses the knife to try and escape. But what the hell was he doing in the coffin? Later, they come across a couple of child refugees from Kurnow traveling with a dwarf, Zoltan, and a gnome, Percival. They're very kind and friendly and are going the same direction, so they decide to accompany each other for the time being. Geralt wasn't a fan of this, but he's outvoted. Back in Redania, Radovid has proven to be a terrible military strategist and king, as he is inept at handling Nilfgaard's unstoppable conquest of the northern kingdoms. He keeps pissing off everyone around him, and of course, Philippa and Dijkstra. They realize it's up to them to save the kingdom, or, as Dijkstra puts it, it's up to him. He's not very trusting of Philippa after she went rogue and killed Vizimir without consulting him first. Meanwhile, Ciri is still hiding out with the Rats, and she realizes that they are all a rugged band of misfit thieves that have no one else but each other. They're basically Robin Hood and his merry men, as they spend the majority of their heists robbing from the rich, but instead of giving it to the poor, they just keep it for themselves. Ciri ends up getting really close to Missel, and they share a kiss later and make love. In the next episode, the Rats rob a village's tax collector. Everyone has a role to play except Ciri, who is forced to stay back and guard the escape vehicle. Everything goes well at first, but like most heists, nothing goes according to plan, so they all have to make a quick exit. During the escape, Missile gets captured, prompting Ciri to disobey orders and rescue her, creating more complications. They are chased through the city by soldiers on horseback, so Ciri gets rid of all of them by tossing the money they stole into the street, prompting every poor peasant in the village to flood the street and block the road, allowing them to escape. This makes everyone in the group hate Ciri, as she just threw away all the money they stole, so Ciri decides to leave the group in the morning. However, they are all greeted by the villagers the next morning, as they are grateful for what the rats did, returning their money to them from their greedy tax collector. On the road out of town, the group decides to make Ciri an official member of the rats, and she accepts. Meanwhile, Geralt and the gang come across a barber surgeon named Regis. He humbly offers to help them, especially Geralt, as his leg was just injured after dealing with a wraith. They follow him to his home, and the whole time Regis is super nice, and it's a change of pace. But you can't help think something is off about him. While everyone gets drunk on Regis's elixir from the gods that he crafts in his spare time, Regis takes a look at Geralt's leg, removing Geralt's makeshift bandage stained with his blood. He properly takes care of his wound, and their conversation that follows erases any doubt that Regis is a good person. The next morning, Regis wishes to accompany Geralt and his friends wherever they go, as he is an old man and tired of living in isolation. Geralt has bonded with him, so he allows it. Elsewhere on the continent, mages aren't being well received by the common folk anymore. Damn you, Vilgefortz! Yennefer, assuming Tissaya's leadership role, visits Philippa, suspecting she and Dijkstra aren't doing well together after recent events. She offers Philippa a chance to join them, admitting that they should have joined forces sooner, as now they have a chance to build an army and stop Vilgefortz. Yennefer then visits Fringilla, offering the same thing, and gives her a Demeridium knife. She wants Fringilla to kill Vilgefortz with it. Fringilla considers Yennefer's proposal, but instead reveals what Yennefer told her to Vilgefortz and joins him. But little does he know that she did take Yennefer's offer and is secretly working as a spy for Yennefer. It's also revealed here that Vilgefortz has Istrid working around the clock trying to find answers in the Book of Monoliths, tricking him into thinking he is doing it for Yennefer. Vilgefortz has been trying to reopen the monolith at Thanid Island, and at the same time is disrupting portal travel for all mages. On the bright side, Philippa decided to join Yennefer. On a not-so-brighter note though, Emhyr figured out Terran is not Ciri, as Terran wasn't the best of actors. As the episode ends, we see two things unfold. Milva has been allowing Cahir to follow them as she suspects he wants a chance to redeem himself, and Regis still has Geralt's old bandage stained with his blood, almost as if he wants it for something. Episode 3 starts with Yennefer trying to recruit Francesca, who lately has been depressed and getting drunk at local brothels. Francesca has had enough of fighting wars and being a voice for her people, so Yennefer forcibly takes her. She returns to the castle of Monte Calvo, where the other mages and a female dwarf named Zymer are gathering to discuss how to deal with Vilgefortz and find Ciri. Meanwhile, Emhyr is furious at Vilgefortz for tricking him with someone that isn't Ciri, but Vilgefortz argues he doesn't need Ciri to rule the continent. Emhyr isn't satisfied, as his goal is to produce an heir possessing elder blood. He then entrusts his advisor, Stefan Stellan, to find Ciri, as Vilgefortz has proven he doesn't know where she is. So Stellan, who has eyes and ears everywhere, reaches out to an old bounty hunter friend, Leo Bonhart, who has made a name for himself hunting witchers. He assigns him the task of hunting down the rats, suspecting Ciri is with them after they robbed another rich monarch. Leo has some unfinished business with the rats after he killed some of them recently, so he happily accepts after Stellan gives him permission to kill them all. Meanwhile, Geralt and the others arrive at a refugee camp, where they once again run into Yarpen. "It is always good to see you, Yarpen. Please do not change him, writers." The refugee kids they were traveling with reunite with their families, but one of them, Beata, discovers her sister is being falsely accused in a witch trial. The accusations aren't true, but the one-dimensionally religious priest has convinced the hostile crowd that she is. Geralt points out the priest's lack of evidence, so Geralt proposes the priest prove his case via a trial by combat against him. Clearly, the priest is not as skilled as Geralt, so he proposes a test. He places a burning hot horseshoe on top of some burning coals, and says if anyone can reach in and grab it without feeling pain, then the sister is free. As everyone points out how unfair this test is, Regis casually grabs the horseshoe without feeling pain or having any burns on his hands. Who is this guy? Better question, what is this guy? Nevertheless, the priest still twists this against them, but then Nilfgaardian soldiers come charging in on horseback so everyone flees. Geralt and the others try to get everyone to safety, but Beata is slain, and Geralt, who has been growing fond of her, has to hold her in his arms as she dies, and as he stands up, he is knocked out cold. In the following episode, Geralt wakes up to find he and Jaskier tied up to a wagon as they are mistaken as Nilfgaardian spies. A Sintra captain that was there during Pavetta's wedding informs them that they are going to be beheaded, but they are saved by Eva so they can help Redania. Dijkstra, still mad at Geralt for forever crippling him back at Aretuza, tells Geralt that his arrival has provided a solution to all of his problems. While Jaskier reunites with Radovid, Dijkstra tortures Geralt until he acknowledges the pain, so that Geralt's screams would break Radovid of having any hope. Geralt resists, fighting through the pain until he can't help but scream. Jaskier hears Geralt screaming from outside and realizes Radovid allowed Dijkstra to torture Geralt. He tries to get Radovid to stop this and be a strong king by standing up to Dijkstra, but when he fails to, Jaskier calls him weak. Heartbroken that Jaskier would call him that, Radovid has Jaskier locked up with Geralt. Dijkstra finishes his torture and informs Geralt that Ciri plans to be wed to her father for clarity. This is still the fake Ciri we're talking about. He then breaks free from his chains and tries to kill Dijkstra, but the guards hold him back, and all Dijkstra can do is gloat. Dijkstra's plan ends up backfiring, as thanks to Jaskier, Radovid embraces a new sense of leadership and has Dijkstra arrested. Meanwhile, Istred finally figures out that Ciri has the power to collapse space and time, not just with their world, but the other spheres as well. Still thinking he's talking to Yennefer, he mentions that Vilgefortz could drain her entire life force, resulting in her death. Vilgefortz is very grateful and ends the illusion. Fringilla walks in, and Vilgefortz reveals he knows she's a spy, so he locks her up too. Back at Monte Calvo, Triss reveals she got Lambert, Cohen, and Vesemir, played by a different actor too, to join their cause. It's a happy reunion, but Vesemir is quick to point out how defenseless their place is, and some of the other mages point out how desperate their plan is. So, maybe it's time to rethink their plan of attack. With Vesemir's help, she trains the other mages to fight like witchers. Meanwhile, Missel begins to suspect Ciri isn't who she says she is, so Ciri explains her journeys with Geralt and Yennefer, leaving out the part that she is Princess Cirilla, and that she isn't the hopeless outcast they thought she was. She never went back to them because she believes they are better off without her.
Loving me brought them nothing but problems.
Regardless of this revelation, Missel still accepts Ciri. Back with Geralt, the Sintra captain attempts to kill Geralt and Jaskier when Regis appears out of nowhere and kills the captain with some sort of unknown power. Geralt is grateful for Regis, but thinks it is best if they don't meet again. Regis suspected it would come to this, so he gifts Geralt with a special potion to aid him in his next impossible battle. As they leave, Geralt reveals to Jaskier that Regis is a vampire. They then reunite with Milva and the rest when suddenly Nilfgaard attacks the camp, complicating their escape. Geralt drinks Regis's potion, and he is filled with power he's never felt before. He leads the way, cutting through enemies with ease, and then comes face to face with Cahir. Cahir says he isn't his enemy, but Geralt still fights him. He's about to kill Cahir when Milva and a wounded Jaskier force him to stop and help get everyone to safety. The next episode is a character backstory episode, as we get a break from the overall story and get to know some of our characters a bit more. The episode begins with Geralt and the others camping for the night while they figure out how to get across a river. Cahir is now with them, and he convinces Geralt to let him stay when he tells him he's not the only one who is tormented by dreams of Ciri. Milva then informs them that the bridge across has been washed out, so as they sit around the fire figuring out what to do, we get to know Yarpen and Zoltan's history first. It turns out that Yarpen despises Zoltan. Back in Mahakam, another northern kingdom, they both helped in their own way to aid their clan. Zoltan would forge the weapons in his forge, and Yarpen would deliver them. One day, Yarpen discovered Zoltan was holding back a shipment to aid humans, which made Zoltan a traitor to his people. When he went to confront him about it, Zoltan destroyed his forge and the evidence. Zoltan denies this, claiming it was his partner, Bruver, who was delivering the weapons to humans, not him. He confronted Bruver, and their fight resulted in the fire that destroyed his forge. By the time Zoltan climbed out of the debris, Bruver had already placed the blame on him, resulting in Zoltan losing everything from his home to his friends. Yarpen is heartbroken by this revelation and apologizes, calling Zoltan his friend. We then get Milva's backstory. It started when she ran away from home as a child after killing her father from all the sexual abuse he gave her. He learned to survive on her own, eventually saving a couple of dryads from some thieves. They took her in, and she made a name for herself escorting Scoia'tael to Broccolon Forest. She grew close to one of them, and is currently pregnant with his child. On her last mission, everyone she was escorting was ambushed and died, including who she was close with, and it devastated her even more. That's when she found purpose taking care of Geralt, and the rest is history. Jaskier, being the poetic storyteller he is, explains he wants to know everyone's story so he can write them all down in a book, adding he won't be around forever but wants his stories to be. He then tells his story next, or should I say he sings his story next. He is a bard after all. While he and Geralt were in a quaint village called Oxenfurt, Jaskier came across an up-and-coming bard named Valdo Marx who needed some inspiration. Jaskier, seeing a bit of himself in Valdo, helped him create his character and find his voice. They became close, to the point that Jaskier trusted him with his secret book of songs, so that they could become a duo and become famous. Unfortunately, Valdo betrayed Jaskier, stole all of his songs, and took everything from him. And that's why you don't get attached in show business. Regis then appears out of nowhere, who claims he's only there to check Jaskier's wound. Everyone is afraid he's here to drink their blood, but Regis explains he hasn't had a drop of blood in 50 years. His story begins 400 years ago, when he was known as an outcast for not being like other vampires. See, vampires' longevity gives them the perverse notion that they can take whatever they want, and this idea disgusted Regis. However, he could only hold out from the intoxicating euphoria for so long, and eventually lost control as he took whatever he wanted. One night, he hit rock bottom, but was rescued by an angelic and beautiful woman named Bethane. They lived together in a romantic fantasy, and he kept his vampiric life a secret from her. It was Bethane that taught him how to be a healer. One day, she didn't return home, and he learned that his vampire brothers took her as punishment for abandoning his own people, as they put it, playing with his food. Enraged, he found them drinking her blood and he lost control, killing all of them. When he was finished, Bethane saw who he really was with her dying breath, and it shattered him. And when the villagers came to cleanse their village of vampires, he welcomed death. Sadly, You can't kill a vampire so easily, and he was left to be buried next to his love for 50 years. A reluctant Cahir is up next to tell his sad tale. It begins with the death of his brother, who died fighting for the usurper when Cahir was a boy. Grief-stricken, Cahir ran away, where Ymir's mage Zarthisius found him and employed him to take food to some monster in a cave, but not go inside. He did this for several weeks, until some random thieves tried to take the food from him. Luckily, the monster he was feeding came to rescue him, and it turns out to be Ymir when he was still a hedgehog. Years later, after Cahir joined the army, Ymir, now a human again, wanted to repay him for saving his life. Cahir, wanting to prove himself, agreed to the mission Ymir gave him, which involved capturing Ciri. Geralt hears this and puts the pieces together, realizing Ymir plans to wed his daughter, so this will fulfill Ithleen's prophecy. He doesn't believe Cahir wants to help them, so Cahir brings up the time Yennefer saved his life. If she trusts him, why can't Geralt? The next morning, they set out to find a way across the river, and Geralt is happy to be with the friends he has around him, although they feel more like family than friends. While everyone tells stories to fill Jaskier's book, Stellan visits Taryn, who has been locked in her quarters all this time. Stellan knows she isn't Ciri, so he gives her some advice on acting. Despite Empire already knowing she isn't Ciri, he convinces her to keep up the charade long enough for her to be queen. Meanwhile, Vilgefortz has been torturing Fringilla in order to learn the location of Yennefer's base. Despite resisting for so long, she cannot help but reveal everything. And as he leaves, Fringilla informs Yennefer that Vilgefortz is coming. Episode 6 starts as Vilgefortz opens a portal to Monte Calvo from his base at Stiga Castle. As Yennefer and the mages prepare for an attack, they've recruited everyone, including the novice mages still in training, to fight back against Vilgefortz. And the novices prove their worth by standing together and putting up a protective shield around the castle. Vilgefortz isn't strong enough to break through, so he has his followers feed their power through him, so much so that it restores his eye. Yennefer and the others channel their power to aid the novices, realizing the longer they hold out, the more Vilgefortz's followers will die trying to channel their power into him. According to the laws of magic, there has to be a balance. If something is given, something is taken. Unfortunately, Vilgefortz eventually breaks through, but Yennefer rallies everyone. Vilgefortz's followers enter the portal, and the battle begins. They're outnumbered, but the mages and witchers fight valiantly against them. Sadly, many of them are dying. So Yennefer tries to reach Fringilla to see if she can restore their portal ability so they can escape. She manages to escape and rescues Istred from his cell so he can help her open the portals. Vilgefortz then finally enters the fight, and Yennefer, along with Philippa, defeat Vilgefortz with some illusionment charms. They knock him unconscious, and Philippa heads to the tower for a special assignment. Yennefer then taps into Vilgefortz's mind in order to uncover his plans for Ciri, but Vilgefortz is stronger and uses the mind meld against Yennefer, allowing him to escape. Meanwhile, Fringilla contacts Yennefer, explaining Vilgefortz prevents people from portaling by having someone be a conduit through the system he designed. This system is a series of monoliths surrounding a pool, and then has mages use all their life force to power it and prevent mages from portaling. Istrid says that the only way to stop it is if he becomes the conduit. The only problem is that process would kill him. Kinda sounds like a big problem to me, but Yennefer tries to object to this, but she is pulled out of the conversation and is informed that Vesemir is fighting Vilgefortz one-on-one. Vesemir manages to wound Vilgefortz with a dagger and falls to his knees. But then Vilgefortz surprise attacks Vesemir, killing him. Rest in peace, Vesemir. You were the best. Vilgefortz then has everyone portaled to a room where his followers are able to kill them all at once. They hold back their fire attack just long enough for Philippa to overflow the nearby well from the tower and save them. Vilgefortz has had enough and fights Yennefer one-on-one. But luckily, Istrid has fixed their portaling ability, so they all portal out of there, or should I say, right behind him. They kill the rest of his followers, but Vilgefortz dips out through another portal. He portals back to Stiga Castle and tries to reason with Istrid before he destroys the monoliths. But Istrid doesn't stop and uses all of his life force to destroy the monoliths. Fringilla rescues him and portals them to Yennefer. As Istrid dies in Yennefer's arms, he apologizes for accidentally giving Vilgefortz everything he wanted to know about Ciri, but Yennefer tells him that he saved them. With the battle over, those that survived burn the Book of Monoliths just as Istrid wanted, and after that, with Fringilla's help, Yennefer portals inside of Ymir's castle, believing the real Ciri is there. Episode 7 starts as Yennefer barges her way into Terran's room, and is furious to discover that Ciri isn't here. She recognizes Terran as one of their missing students, and promises to keep her safe. But Terran doesn't want to go, as nowhere is safe for her. Besides, she likes the idea of being a princess, despite being held like a prisoner. Yennefer warns her that when Ymir finds the real Ciri, she's dead. So Terran takes Stellan's advice on acting and becomes her spy. Meanwhile, Geralt and his new family arrive at the treacherous Ysgith swamp and have no choice but to cross it if they want to reach Ciri. No one is looking forward to the journey, and I can't say I blame them. I hate leeches. And as they walk, Cahir and Geralt talk about the dreams of Ciri they've been having. Cahir wonders if Ciri will be the same person Geralt knew when they find her, let alone will she want to be found? Geralt worries about this too, but she is still the girl he swore to protect. Cahir then lingers back to Milva, wondering if he can help with her baby. She blushes and says no thank you, hinting that there might be a romance blossoming between the two. They come to a pond that has rocks they can walk on to get across, and Geralt starts hearing voices calling his name, so he warns everyone to be on their guard. Zoltan then walks across, but something grabs him and pulls him under the water.
Hello, how are you? I am under the water. Please help me. Here too much raining.
Yarpen and Percival rush to grab him, but then something takes them. Geralt can hear their voices, but they have bigger problems as the swamp appears to be coming alive. The swamp then takes Cahir and Jaskier. Geralt asks the swamp what it wants, and it opens up a path, with an eerie child's voice saying, "Come and find me." He follows the path and sees illusions of Yennefer and Ciri before Milva and Regis save him from the swamp's trap. The swamp then takes Milva and Regis away, leaving Geralt all alone. Geralt keeps following the voice until he sees the child's voice belonging to a swamp-like spirit resembling that of a child. It then awakens its mother, Rusalka, who reveals she is keeping Geralt's friends' souls underwater, trapped in their worst fears. This is their punishment for wandering into their home. Geralt knows that they are spirits that haunt the waterways, and that she requires Geralt to answer a riddle in order to release his friends. So, she gives the riddle. What I love, I do not carry. What I nurture, I do not feed. What I live and die for is not mine alone. What am I? As Geralt thinks, Rusalka can't help but be drawn to Geralt's warmth. Ever since she became this swamp spirit, she's known nothing but cold. Geralt offers his warmth, but only if she releases him. Desperate, she does so, allowing Geralt to fight back and stab her daughter. Rusalka retaliates and drags Geralt under the water as she holds her dying daughter in her arms. As he struggles, Geralt sees Rusalka and her daughter phase in and out of their spirit forms, and as the riddle echoes in his head, he finally figures out the answer. I am a father. The swamp releases them, and we see Rusalka and her daughter's dead bodies nearby. Realizing they will face the same fate if they don't get out of here, Regis transforms into a bat and leads them out of the swamp. They make it out, and Yarpen reveals he is going back to Mahakam. He saw something while trapped in his worst fears, and it made him want to go back home and start a family. Percival is touched by this idea and wants to go with him, so everyone says goodbye to Yarpen and Percival. That night, Yennefer portals to Geralt and tells him all that's happened. She adds that Ciri isn't in Nilfgaard, and that she's afraid they won't find her. Geralt is certain she's still out there because he still has dreams about a future with all three of them dying of old age. They share another bath together and make love like old times. Meanwhile, Ciri is enjoying a relaxing day with the rats when a man named Hotspurn, working for the Baron of Cassaday, comes collecting a ransom from them. Hotspurn smugly warns them that Leo is after them again, which doesn't concern any of the rats, but Hotspurn does suggest a way to clear their names. He informs them that Emhyr is in a celebratory mood as he prepares to marry Ciri, so there's a good chance anyone will be spared from their crimes. Yeah, definitely doesn't sound like a trap. Ciri hears about this and is confused as to how Emhyr could be marrying her if she isn't there. She then gets more confused and angry when she learns that the rats work for Emhyr and storms off. Missel goes after her, but Ciri doesn't want to hear her as she's tired of killing the person she was before. Missel then puts two and two together and realizes who Ciri is. She tells Ciri to forget the past and stay with her, but Ciri can't anymore and leaves. Back in Nilfgaard, the whole continent now knows Emhyr is marrying the wrong Ciri, and Emhyr blames Stellan for leaking the information. He holds a knife to his throat, and Stellan chooses his words carefully, meticulously convincing Emhyr that he can't have Ciri unless he kills Geralt, as their destinies are tied. Emhyr backs down and makes plans to find Geralt. Back at the camp, Regis figures out a way they can find Ciri by using the help of some druids he knows. Yennefer realizes it might be possible, especially since the equinox draws near and it helps multiply their power.
Oh, well, isn't that convenient?
Sadly, Yennefer must go back to the mages, so she and Geralt say yet another sad goodbye. Back with Ciri, she catches up with Hotspurn, breaks his leg, and frees the boy they were ransoming. Begging for help, the boy warns Ciri that the rats are heading for a trap set by Leo, so she races after her friends to save them. The last episode starts with Geralt and everyone finally finding a way over the river, when they come across a barge that can take them across. But as they make it halfway, several northern soldiers led by Queen Mev come under attack from Nilfgaardian soldiers. The northern soldiers start pulling them towards them, but the barge operator panics and cuts the ropes, prompting the soldiers to fire arrows at them so they can take the barge. Geralt and the others row away downriver, trying to find a way to shore, but they keep getting attacked by soldiers from both sides. They are rescued by Milva, who conveniently left the previous night because she was feeling depressed. This show is so badly written. Thank God this is the last episode we're doing. They row their way to a bridge and are once again mistaken for Nilfgaardian spies and shot at. The barge runs aground as they are forced to hide under a bridge. Suddenly, Milva starts miscarrying, but they have even bigger problems as Nilfgaardian troops start attacking the bridge above. Realizing Nilfgaardians will kill them if they stay down there, Geralt, Cahir, Jaskier, and Zoltan climb up the bridge to fight alongside the retreating northerners. They all inspire them to stand their ground and fight, and an epic battle ensues. They push the Nilfgaard troops back, but then the Nilfgaardian cavalry and archers arrive, forcing everyone to fall back. Zoltan evens the odds by releasing a conveniently placed pile of logs in front of the horsemen. Nilfgaard retreats and the battle is won, until a monster appears from the other side and starts killing the northerners. Geralt drinks a potion and defeats it, allowing the queen to finally cross to the other side. The battle is won thanks to a witcher, a Nilfgaardian, and a dwarf. Meanwhile, Yennefer gathers the remaining mages together and decides they need to do something important. While in the past the mages had the Brotherhood, now she realizes they need more than ever to defeat Vilgefortz to create a sisterhood. But aren't a brotherhood and a sisterhood basically the same thing? Whatever, I'm done with this show! Yennefer then has Triss help her locate Vilgefortz back at Stiga. Triss is against this at first because there's no guarantee that she'll come back alive, but Yennefer is determined to protect Ciri. Triss finally gives in and a portal opens up. Yennefer enters and finds herself in the middle of the ocean being dragged towards a violent whirlpool. As Ciri races to save her friends, the rats engage Leo and his trap. Leo casually makes his way downstairs to them and starts killing them one by one until only Missile remains. Leo fatally wounds her and is about to finish her when Ciri arrives. She fights Leo, and Leo is more than thrilled to finally have a worthy opponent. He manages to defeat Ciri, but keeps her alive and is forced to watch all her friends get beheaded, including Missile. With the battle won, Milva is saved, but the Northern Doctor wasn't able to save the child's life. Geralt then asks who this Queen Mev is, and the Doctor says she is Queen of Lyria and Rivia. Geralt was fighting for his home and didn't even know it. Mev then approaches Geralt and his friends and thanks them for saving their lives. She has Geralt knighted and is forever known as Sir Geralt of Rivia, which now means he only has to fight for her till the day he dies. Frick. The season ends with Zarthisius showing Emir some sort of large monstrous creature off screen. Emir is in awe of this creature and introduces it to Geralt's smell so it can track him down and kill him. Better make a few dozen potions, Geralt. Or 100. And that brings us to the end of this train wreck. So far. The 5th and final season of The Witcher is scheduled to be released sometime late next year, and I couldn't be happier, because it means this nightmare of a show will finally be over. But hey, at least we got to see Henry Cavill for 3 whole seasons, looking damn fine! If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.